Валентин.
Шановні колеги, всім доброго.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Thank you for attending our event. Thank you for watching us online. And our topic is nonviolent communication as a tool to start dialogue in the east of Ukraine. We have Olga Pishel, director of the project Bridge from Conflict to Dialogue and Understanding Inter Culture of Southeast. Kateryna Yasko, psychologist, head of the Board of Educational Initiative Vidkryta Khata, and director of the project Social Integration through Development of Emotional Intelligence and Conflict Mediation Skills. And our guests from abroad, these are certified trainers of the Center for Nonviolent Communication, Ms. Eva Rambala and Ms. Nayoma de Haen. First, I would give the floor to Olga. Thank you for this opportunity to present our project. At the very beginning, I would like to describe how the idea emerged. And Ukrainian society is traumatized by the war. We have almost 2 million of IDPs. We have almost 50,000 of demobilized servicemen from the war zone, and we have a huge number of peaceful residents who continue to live in the ATO area. But that's not enough. I think that more or less traumatized is the entire society. Because the emotions that we experience, they are pertinent to all the people. We quite often use helpless. We feel fears. We are we have fears about tomorrow. We have we have no confidence in tomorrow's lives. So in our society, we have to create opportunities and perspectives for overcoming the outcomes of the war which continues. In order to be able to change this emotional situation of people. Trying to observe what's going on in Ukraine, I come to conclusion that we live in the midst of a series of conflicts. Some of them are old, some of them are new. That's not because of the latest events in our society. There is a huge trauma of the past events. The trauma that we face today is complicated. Part of this trauma comes from the inherited past, some of it comes from the recent past, some of them depends on the today's situation. When you speak about scholars, quite often they say about historical traumas which were survived by your ancestors. In order to overcome this trauma, and this is the name of our project, the bridge from conflict to dialogue and understanding. This reflects the the process. We are on the bridge. We look behind us and remember what happened, but we also need to have a vision forward. And our program is comprehensive, which consists of the modules representing different methods based on the European experience. One of the methods which will be presented by our trainer, method of nonviolent communication, and a big part of our project is devoted to the traumas of our society. We try to create such a venue, such a space where we will try to overcome this trauma. I represent German organization, the Southeast, the culture of the Southeast. My fellows are representatives of civil society who see this problem. We have to see this problem, to understand it, and to create a space, a framework where we may start the dialogue. This is an intellectual environment. This is an intellectual space for the dialogue. Now I would like to give the floor to Kateryna, who are part, and she and her organization are part of this environment, are part of this program. Thank you, Olga. For us, it's a big honor to participate in the events organized by your organization. I will say a couple of words about our work. We are primarily dealing with educational projects. We believe that via education, via enlightenment, we might give a chance to Ukraine, a chance to become progressive and developing country. I think that the skills, the knowledge, the competences which are gained in course of our project, of our training, should be integrated into the educational system in general. Our society has to recognize that the trauma which we experienced is also the opportunity for growth. Quite often we keep saying that the society has been suffering from PTSD syndrome, and our objective is to recognize this, to transform this situation into growth. This is the main objective of our organization. That's why we work much at the edge of psychology and education. We stated that the society is traumatized, but you cannot provide a psychologist for everybody. You have to train trainees, you have to train teachers, you have to train facilitators, mediators, people who involve others into the dialogue. You should allow them to learn how to establish nonviolent communication. One of the biggest presence for us is to see support and to experience support of the international community. We got assistance from Germany, from Lithuania, from Sweden. These are countries where people understand the importance of education, of enlightenment, and of psychological rehabilitation for our society. These people understand the importance of those supporting systems, those treatment systems which would allow to overcome traumas and to use the difficult situation today to reach growth. We have now good experience of using the nonviolent communication as a methodology for training children and adults in peacekeeping, in peaceful coexistence. The second component comes from social responsibility for myself, for my life, for my country. And with this, I would like to give the floor to my colleagues, to our esteemed colleagues representing Nonviolent Communication Center, who have been working in Ukraine for some time, and to describe the achievements, the accomplishments made by the trainers of this center globally, because the center operates globally in many countries in the conflict areas, and also to describe how this methodology is used in the curriculums of educational institutions. I would like to give the floor to Eva Rambala, who arrived to us from Budapest. She has more than 20 years of experience.
Me? Automatically I would say, oh, I'm so happy to be here, which is actually, it's not true. Because in Hungary we are celebrating the anniversary of the 56th revolution these days at home. And it's very scary and very touching to have the sense, again, we are at the same situation, just our neighbor, which is very close. So actually it's very, very difficult for me to face this trauma of war and face my own fear of this can happen again with any of us anytime. And this is raising my awareness how difficult to heal trauma. Because in 56 I wasn't born, I wasn't even planned by my parents. They were too young to directly plan their family. And just hearing their experience, that somehow I have the sense I have alive pain and fear. And when the gentleman checked my passport, then they kindly asked me to go to a private room because they had some issue with my passport. And my first thought was, oh my God, these guys has guns. And it's so scary. Even if they were kind and polite, they did their job, but it's still how to experience trauma. So little is enough to stimulate fear. Basically, that's what I wanted to say. With trauma work, one of my most touching experience is when we worked in Bosnia, a couple of years after the war. And I asked two of my hosts, how was this experience to you? And both of them started to cry. And I was like, oh my God, I asked something wrong and I shouldn't be so insensitive. And, you know, sometimes that half minute can last forever. And they said I was the first one in their life who asked them how they experienced personally. Many people asked what happened, and there were many dialogues, but very few people get the chance of like, okay, and how was it in your heart? How did you manage emotionally? in my belief system and what I've learned and what I experienced, retelling the story again and again, it's just deepen the pain. What helps us to heal if I can verbalize how I experienced it. Maybe some of us had grandfathers who explained the same story from the war over and over again for a million times. That means people has no words to express what was going on in their hearts or soul. And if we have the words to verbalize how we experienced certain things, that helps to heal trauma. I know there are many, many different ways how we can heal trauma. I can speak about what I believe in and what I practice the most. So what our project helps to people, first to encourage them to find the words to describe their inner processes, not just what is in their head, but what is in their heart, and raising our awareness how extremely important to listen to each other. This is what we can do even in our families. It's just to be able to stay with the other person even when they describe their pain.
Хочу передать слово.
This I would like to give the floor to Nayoma de Haen, who arrived from Berlin, from Germany, who she also has a huge experience of work in course of nonviolent communication. One of the big aspects of Nayoma's work is with IDPs. You know that recently Germany and Sweden experienced a huge influx of migrants, IDPs from Syria and other Arabian countries. Now they carry out a huge work on integration of IDPs to their German society, for example, and Nayoma will describe that tools of mild integration into society, softer integration into society. Maybe she will share her experience of cooperation, her work with IDPs, and in general about nonviolent communication.
Grateful to be invited here, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to contribute and to basically exchange experiences, because from what I see and what I hear and what I have been experiencing so far, I think it is a situation where both sides can learn from each other. And so I'm very grateful to be a kind of messenger going back and forth. Connecting to what my colleague Eva Rambala just said, we have a need to connect and to communicate, but when our painful experiences are so strong, sometimes we don't know how to do that, because we are afraid that if we would even touch on those feelings and emotions, we would collapse and it would just be too much. So a lot of people just shut up. And nonviolent communication is a very needs-based communication approach. And that is my experience as helping many people that have a problem to talk about emotions, but needs is something that they can start connecting with, and it gives them like an anchor, like an orientation, where they can start to connect with themselves on a human level, without having to touch on the emotions too much, which might be a scary thing. But then they can have a point of where they can start to share, and where they can start to feel that precious sense of connection and of being heard by another person again. And it's like a little seed where it can start from. And I've just been to Dnipropetrovsk last week, and I was very moved by how the people there who had already some experience of nonviolent communication and who had been out in the field and applying this, and the stories they've been telling were just really, really deeply moving. Like one area that I heard about was the conflicts, very similar actually to the ones we have in Germany, between the local communities and the communities of IDPs that suddenly are in these places too. And nobody really wanted that to start with, neither the people who live there nor the IDPs. And both of them are in a situation that they didn't choose really. And there's a lot of ideas in the air about each other. There are fears, and you know, it's like a lot of, I don't know these people, I don't know how they are. You know, it's like in Germany we even have the language barrier, which is a huge problem. And starting to moderate dialogues where people can start to hear each other on a very simple and basic level is starting to create some means, like a little bit of safe ground where I can hear, okay, so that is what this is about for the other. And we all have the same human needs, so I can relate. Okay, so it's about safety. Yeah, I know how the need of for safety feels. And it's about the need to, you know, find a place where I'm seen, I'm heard, and where there's somebody who can listen to me, where what I think and feel is important, where somebody is with me, helping me to get my needs met. And the German people, you know, it's like they want to be heard too. Or the people in the local communities here. It's like with their fears and concerns. And so that's one field where I've also heard that the people who have had some training in nonviolent communication have had some great successes here in Ukraine. And the other field is in working with veterans from the war, who and other people with direct trauma of the war, where it's sometimes also, as I said, very difficult to touch on the feelings. And a needs-based approach can help them to start reconnecting with themselves and also to start talking about their experience in a way that that's not too awkward and not too like more personal than the culture really allows. So that's just a few examples of how I've seen this work really beautifully.
Я бы хотела коротко попросить Эву рассказать вообще о методе ненасильственного общения.
I would like to ask Eva to describe how this method appeared, how it developed, and to describe this methodology as a whole, how it could assist different groups of people.
In 30, so he was a small child during the Second World War, and he experienced quite a lot of violence, having a Jewish surname. And he was very interested, being a young man, why some people enjoy hurting others when he was beaten. And he has an aunt who went every evening to take care of a paralyzed grandmother. And you know, when someone is a small child and then he sees a paralyzed grandmother and someone comes and cares about her with the greatest smile on her face. And why some people enjoy giving and why some people enjoy hurting others. And he claims that was his main motivation, wanting to become a psychologist, because he was really curious. Why one people this, the other people like that? And then when he became psychologist, like his famous story was, he was really bored of writing clinical reports and made the decision, no more report in my life. because he didn't see the meaning of it, spending many hours of writing what happened. And was very, very curious what real support he could give to people. And then he earned for a while a lot of money by helping parents how to communicate with their children so the child wants to do the homework. How to communicate it in a more caring way than it happened in the past. And then somehow he was still searching for meaning. What really helps communication? And slowly in the 60s and 70s, he started his own research by teaching a process, hearing feedback from people. While he was in university, he was one of the students of Carl Rogers, and for many, many years he worked in his researches. So basically his roots came from Gandhi, who he considered one of his role models, and Carl Rogers was one of his teachers who influenced him the most. And he died a couple of years ago. And at this moment, we are working in more than 70 countries. Usually we start with schools in each country, because parents or teachers are the most motivated, wanting to give a little better life to their children.
Большое спасибо. Ольга, хотели бы вы что-нибудь добавить?
Olga, do you want to add something? I would like to add maybe the method of nonviolent communication is one of the main instruments that can be studied. This is not technical education. You should implement, you should put it in real practice. And as our previous participants of our trainings, they said that firstly they want to use it and try it in practice, and then gradually they came to the fact that this method does not only change their methodology, but it also changes their consciousness. So they look at the world in a different way. So that is what we need. We are speaking about society, that we, each of us, we should look at each other and we should understand the needs of our own and the needs of other people as well. And this is what can help us to overcome this crisis of misunderstanding, mistrust, to overcome crisis situation that we have in our society. And also I'd like to add some official part. Our project is financed in the framework of the program of support of civil society in Ukraine by Germany, and we want to have these changes in our society. Thank you. So, and lastly, I would like to share our plans. Our project is called Social Integration through Emotional and Intelligence Development and Peacekeeping in the schools in the east of Ukraine. And now we have the results, and on the 27th, and there will be the first conference on education and peace, transformation of education on the way to peace. And our partners from different countries, from Lithuania, Sweden, Hungary, they will participate in this conference, and they will tell us about the practices that can be used to change educational system in Ukraine, filling it with methods to overcome traumas and to become more successful and happy. And also during this conference we will have participants of the projects from the east of Ukraine, and in the week there will be more than 60 teachers and school psychologists from the east of Ukraine, from Donetsk and Lugansk oblasts, and they will present a project that they created during this half year of the work in our program, and how to bring these methods, how to implement them, how to develop our communities through cultural dialogue and effective communication. And on our behalf, we invite our colleagues, journalists, to join us and to participate, to attend. And once again, I want to thank you for synergy. We feel support and our gratitude to our partners from different countries who choose this way of support of civil society. We are deeply convinced that the culture of dialogue, this is the most important thing, and then we will be able to join our efforts and to become stronger and more effective in our work to build new country. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Kateryna. Thank you, dear colleagues. Do you have questions? Please introduce yourself first and then address your question. A journalist, Kuris Dragin. I have a question. I heard, I will speak Russian. So the methods and methodology of your work, you're speaking now about victims of conflict, and politicians are responsible for the conflicts, negotiators also are responsible. They reflect and they project these conflicts on society. They involve society in this conflict. And society do not want to participate in the conflict. They just do not want to speak about it. And I remember 1957 because I am this age. So your methods, do they involve politicians, those who take decisions connected with conflict, those who organize these conflicts, those who provoke them? Do you work with these people? Do you have some methods how to influence them? Or they are just interested in this materially, first of all? Thank you.
Whoever I can connect with, I must confess politicians are not queuing up to my workshops in a long row. What I keep telling on my trainings, I don't have problem with politicians, I have problem with obedience. Because I really would like us and our children first to check who do we obey. My personal conviction is if we learn how to make decisions for ourselves and how to implement it, then we won't be dependent on politicians. So in a way, it's who can influence the politicians? Us. When do we really practice our power and learn how to choose? On which basis do we choose politicians who will serve us? I don't know the answer. I have a lot of problem with Hungarian politics as well, so I'm not saying we found the solution. This is the only thing I believe it, and it gives me hope, because I see more and more people can stand up for themselves. The problem is saying or naming what I don't want. It's already a big deal, having the courage to open my mouth. But saying what I want and deciding and figuring out and implementing it, that's a difficult task, but I hope more and more people, we can do it.
Thank you very much. Do you have other questions? Please ask. Andrei Megel, consultant. You said that 60 people will come. So what is the coverage around Ukraine? Because some social practices, in order to be implemented, they need more involvement. So people should understand the methods. And if some people know these methods and others don't. So maybe there won't be improvement. And how do you see your project in 5 years? I believe that big things start from first little steps. And the process of learning of this method and any other skills connected with the ability to work on ourselves. It is very important for educators, for teachers. This is one of the main competences that allows to create cultural dialogue in the classroom. Because people who are under stress because of war, because of educational system, they are in difficult conditions, and difficult for them to feel free, to feel really good in our institutions where they can build civil society, where they can develop cultural dialogue, and these skills, they need time. In order to become an instructor, certified instructor in nonviolence communication, people spend 3 up to 5 years. So no one taught this before, and it can not be massive at this point, but the plans are ambitious, and one of the tasks, we see the implementation and integration of methods of development of emotional intelligence into educational system. And we believe that all educators, they need to be the bearers of this culture of dialogue. And now they present the concept of the new Ukrainian school. And one of the priorities in this concept is the pedagogy of partnership. And it starts with effective communication between teacher and students, teacher and parents, teachers, and between teachers and directors, principal of schools, and the heads of administration. That's why we started with what we have. We work with people from Donetsk and Lugansk regions. This is Severodonetsk and Konstantinovka, Mariupol, Kramatorsk. And there are not many people, but we plan, and we now fill application, and we hope for support of Lithuanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in order to create a next cycle of this program. And we hope that there will be instructors from different countries who will come and provide training. And we are glad with the results of the work that we carried out. We got results, and we see that emotional competence of the participants of our participants raised dramatically in 3 months. And this is about 70%. So this is good result. And how we will be able, and with what pace we'll be able to disseminate this program, it depends on synergy of efforts of different stakeholders. So this is the support of international donors. It is really important, the support of the centers and Ukrainian diaspora. And we thank Ola that she is a bright representative of Ukrainian diaspora in Germany who understands the problem. And if these efforts are directed properly in this synergy, so in several years, we will do real progress.
I personally worked in certain countries, and I thought I am not touched, so I can leave the problems in the place where it is, and I don't bring it home. And after my previous visit, I was really messed up for a couple of weeks. I was so much touched with the issues teacher raised on the program. So part of me is, for me, it's a very big challenge to come here. And another part of me, I'm not envy of your challenges and problems, but I so much love to be here, because in Hungary I never met, I don't know if I have ever met so many excited people who wants to make a difference in their country. I don't know where this energy will take, and I know not each and every Ukrainian like this, but the people, and it was hundreds of people who I have met so far, and that was so attracting this energy of, attractive, this energy of like, yeah, we do something, we have to do something. I know enthusiasm is not enough. We need expertise, we need persistence, we need to go through lots of struggle to make a difference. But at least the seed is there. Thank you.
Дякую, колеги. На цій ноті
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. So this is the end of press briefing. Till the next time, goodbye.
Шановні колеги, наступна подія о
Dear colleagues, our next event is at 2 p.m.